In a small town nestled in the heart of California, 29-year-old Emily found herself caught in the monotony of daily life. Each morning, she would rise with the sun, tending to the animals on her modest farm and working diligently in her garden. By evening, she would return home, often alone, as her husband, Mark, spent most of his time in the city pursuing work opportunities. The solitude was familiar, yet it weighed heavily on her. Everything changed last summer when Mark's childhood friend, Alex, returned to town. "He's here to help us out," Mark had said, but there was something in Alex's gaze that hinted at deeper feelings. The first time Emily saw him, she wore a simple floral dress, her hair braided neatly. She felt Alex's eyes linger on her, a sensation that sent a shiver down her spine. One afternoon, while picking tomatoes in the garden, Alex approached her. "If you don't mind, I'd like to help you with that," he offered, his voice soft and inviting. Emily's heart raced at his proximity. As they reached for the same vine, their hands brushed together, sending an electric thrill through her. "Sorry," he said, his cheeks flushing, but he didn't pull away. Neither did she. In that moment, they both sensed an unspoken connection. As the sun beat down, Emily adjusted the collar of her white blouse, feeling Alex's gaze on her. It was a strange mix of discomfort and excitement, igniting something within her that she hadn't felt in a long time. Later that evening, as they walked back to the house, she turned to him and asked, "Will you be coming back tomorrow?" "Of course," he replied with a warm smile that made her heart flutter. The next morning, Emily dressed with more care, choosing a delicate pink tank top paired with her favorite denim shorts. When Alex arrived, he looked her up and down and said, "You look beautiful today." A blush crept across her cheeks, and she felt a rush of warmth. In the far corner of the garden, there were fig trees that had grown wild over the years. Emily often found solace there, the shade providing a cool escape from the heat. One afternoon, as they worked side by side, she noticed Alex stealing glances at her. The air was thick with unspoken words, and she could feel the tension building between them. "Do you remember those summer days when we were kids?" Alex asked, breaking the silence. "We used to climb those trees and pretend we were explorers." Emily laughed softly, her eyes sparkling with nostalgia. "Yes. I remember you always wanted to be the captain of our ship." "Some things never change," he replied, a playful grin spreading across his face. As the days turned into weeks, their bond deepened. They shared stories and laughter, and with each passing moment, Emily found herself drawn to Alex in ways she hadn't anticipated. The small touches, the way their hands brushed against each other, the lingering looks, became more frequent, and the air between them crackled with unacknowledged tension. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Emily felt a rush of courage. "Do you think things could ever change around here?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex turned to her, his expression serious. "Change is always possible, Emily. Sometimes, it just takes a little push." Their eyes locked, and for a moment, the world around them faded away. The warmth of the setting sun bathed them in golden light, and Emily could feel her heart pounding in her chest. "Maybe we should be the ones to make that change," she suggested, her breath hitching in her throat. Alex leaned closer, his voice low and intimate. "I think we might be ready for something new." As the night deepened, they sat in comfortable silence, the stars twinkling above them. Emily's mind raced with possibilities, and she couldn't shake the feeling that this summer would mark the beginning of something extraordinary. The next day, she dressed with intention, donning a light sundress that flowed gently around her. When Alex arrived, his eyes widened in appreciation. "You look stunning," he said, his voice thick with admiration. "Thank you," she replied, her heart fluttering at the compliment. They spent the day working in the garden, laughter echoing in the warm air. Each shared glance and accidental touch sent sparks flying between them, igniting a fire that neither could ignore. As they gathered the last of the vegetables, Emily felt a surge of boldness. "What if we took a break from all this?" she suggested, her eyes shining with mischief. "Just you and me, somewhere fun." Alex raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Are you suggesting a little adventure?" "Why not?" she replied, a smile playing on her lips. "We could go to the beach or take a hike in the mountains." "Count me in," he said, his enthusiasm infectious. That weekend, they set off on a spontaneous road trip, the open road stretching before them like a promise. As they drove, the music played softly in the background, and the air was filled with laughter and light-hearted banter. Emily felt alive, the weight of her routine lifting with every mile they traveled. When they reached the beach, the salty breeze tousled their hair, and they ran toward the waves, splashing and playing like children. The sun dipped low in the sky, painting the horizon in hues of orange and pink, and as they settled on the sand, Emily felt a sense of peace wash over her. "Isn't this perfect?" she said, leaning back on her hands, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Absolutely," Alex replied, his gaze fixed on her. "I'm glad we did this." As the sun set, they shared stories and dreams, the conversation flowing effortlessly. Emily felt a connection with Alex that transcended friendship, a bond that was both exhilarating and terrifying. As darkness enveloped them, they sat side by side, the sound of the waves crashing against the shore creating a soothing rhythm. Emily turned to Alex, her heart racing. "I've really enjoyed this," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Me too," he said, his eyes searching hers. "I think there's something special between us." In that moment, the world around them faded away, and Emily felt a magnetic pull toward him. She leaned in slightly, her heart pounding as their faces drew closer. The air was thick with anticipation, and just as their lips were about to meet, the sound of laughter from a nearby bonfire broke the spell. They both pulled back, laughter bubbling up between them, but the moment lingered in the air, unspoken yet palpable. As they made their way back to the car, Emily felt a mix of excitement and uncertainty. The summer had transformed her life in ways she never expected, and she couldn't help but wonder what the future held for her and Alex. Little did she know, the journey was just beginning. As they arrived at the secluded spot, the air felt different, charged with an unspoken energy. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the landscape. "This place feels so special," Emily remarked, glancing at Alex, who stood close by, his eyes reflecting the fading light. "Yeah, it really does," he replied, taking a step closer. Their gazes locked, and Emily's heart raced, a flutter of excitement coursing through her. Alex reached out, his hand brushing against her cheek, a gentle touch that sent shivers down her spine. "We shouldn't," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper, but the conviction in her tone faltered under the weight of his gaze. "I know, but I can't help it," he confessed, his voice low and earnest. In that moment, the world around them faded away, and as if drawn by an invisible force, their lips met. It was a soft, tentative kiss, but it ignited something deep within Emily, a feeling she hadn't experienced in a long time. After that kiss, everything changed. That night, as she lay in bed, the memory of their shared moment replayed in her mind. Her partner slept soundly beside her, but her thoughts were consumed by Alex. The next day, Emily found herself at the local vineyard, a place she often visited for its serene beauty. To her surprise, Alex was there too, his presence sending a thrill through her. "Hey," he said shyly, a smile breaking across his face. "Hi," she replied, feeling a mix of shyness and excitement. This time, she felt bolder. "I couldn't stop thinking about you last night," she admitted, her cheeks flushing. His eyes sparkled with delight. I thought about you too, he said, taking her hand and leading her to a sun-drenched corner of the vineyard, away from prying eyes. You look beautiful, he said, his words wrapping around her like a warm embrace. They kissed again, this time with more passion, the world around them fading into the background. In his arms, Emily felt safe, cherished. Weeks passed, and their secret relationship blossomed. They met daily, sharing hours of conversation and stolen kisses, each moment deepening their connection. One afternoon, as they sat under the shade of an old oak tree, Alex turned to her, his expression serious. I love you, he said, the words hanging in the air like a promise. Emily's heart soared at his confession. I love you too, she replied, her voice filled with sincerity. But as their relationship grew, so did their desires. They both craved more than just kisses. They began meeting in a secluded cabin at the far end of the vineyard, a hidden sanctuary where they could explore their feelings away from the world. On one such day, Emily wore a delicate white sundress that danced around her knees in the gentle breeze. Alex wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her close. Are you sure? He asked, his voice a mix of tenderness and concern. She nodded, her heart pounding in anticipation of what was to come. The air between them was thick with unspoken promises, and as they leaned in, the world outside faded away, leaving only the two of them in their own little universe. Emily nodded, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and fear. This was the first time she had gotten so close to someone other than her husband, and the thrill of it was intoxicating. Alex was gentle, never pushing her beyond her comfort zone. That day felt special for both of them. In the secluded cabin at the vineyard, Alex had laid out a soft blanket over the hay bales, creating a romantic atmosphere. The sunlight filtered through the trees, casting dappled shadows around them. You're such a special woman, Emily, he said, pulling her closer by the hands. Their kisses grew more passionate, igniting a fire within her. As his fingers brushed against the buttons of her sundress, he paused, looking into her eyes. Do you want to continue? He asked, his voice a mix of tenderness and concern. Yes, she whispered, her heart pounding in anticipation. That afternoon, they surrendered to each other completely. Being in his arms felt incredible, a sense of happiness she hadn't experienced in a long time. Being with you feels like a dream, he said, and she felt the same way. Their secret affair added vibrant colors to her life. They met every day, stealing moments together while her husband was busy with work. Alex brought her flowers and whispered sweet nothings, making her feel cherished and valued. One day, as they strolled through the vineyard, Alex turned to her with a serious expression. I want to run away with you one day, he said, catching her off guard. What do you mean? She asked, her heart racing. Let's go to another city, just the two of us. We can start fresh together, he proposed. The weight of his words settled heavily on her. That's a huge decision. I need to think about it, she replied, her mind racing with possibilities. That night, sleep eluded her. Her heart longed for Alex, but guilt gnawed at her. She was betraying her husband, and while it brought her joy, it also filled her with shame. Yet, the thought of life without Alex felt unbearable. The next day, she found herself standing in front of Alex, her heart resolute. I want to come with you, she said, and his face lit up with joy. He pulled her into a tight embrace, their lips meeting in a sweet kiss. I'll make all the arrangements, he promised, and she felt a rush of hope and excitement at the thought of their future together. The week leading up to their escape was filled with a whirlwind of excitement and anxiety. Sarah had packed her suitcase carefully, hiding it in the back of her closet, while trying to maintain a facade of normalcy around her husband, Mark. Inside, however, she was buzzing with anticipation. Alex, her secret lover, was equally thrilled about their new life together. "It's going to be beautiful," he often said, and she believed him wholeheartedly. For love, she was willing to risk everything. As the weekend approached, the thrill of freedom surged within her. She envisioned a life where she could be with Alex openly, away from the constraints of her current life. The day of their escape had finally arrived, and her heart raced as she clutched her bag, waiting for Alex to pick her up. Just as she was about to step out the door, Mark unexpectedly returned home early. "Where are you going?" he asked, his brow furrowing in confusion. Sarah froze, caught off guard. She opened her mouth to speak but found herself at a loss for words. At that moment, Alex appeared at the door, his voice bright and eager. "Sarah, are you ready?" he called out, but the sight of him sent a jolt of panic through her. Mark's expression shifted from confusion to realization, and anger flared in his eyes. "How dare you take my wife from me?" Mark shouted at Alex, his voice rising with fury. The tension in the room thickened, and Sarah felt a wave of dread wash over her. "Please, don't fight," she pleaded, stepping between them, but it was too late. Both men were too enraged to listen. "Get out of my house!" Mark yelled, his face flushed with rage. Alex stood firm, looking at Sarah with a mix of concern and determination. "Come on, Sarah, we're leaving," he urged, but she felt torn, her heart pounding in her chest. In that moment, she made her choice. "I'm going with him," she declared, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. With a quick glance back at Mark, she stepped outside, her heart racing as she climbed into Alex's car. As they drove away from her old life, a mix of exhilaration and guilt washed over her. The landscape blurred past, and she felt a sense of liberation. They headed to a small town in Oregon, where they rented a cozy little house. Alex was attentive and loving, and for the first time in a long while, Sarah felt truly happy. However, as the days turned into weeks, the initial thrill began to fade. She found herself missing her old life, the familiarity of her home, her friends, and even Mark. The longing crept in slowly, like shadows at dusk. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Alex turned to her, concern etched on his face. "Are you okay? You seem distant," he asked gently. "I'm fine," she replied, but the lie felt heavy on her tongue. I miss some things about my old life," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex nodded, understanding flickering in his eyes. "It's normal to feel that way. But we're building something new together," he reassured her, taking her hand in his. She wanted to believe him, but the ache of nostalgia lingered. Days passed, and Sarah found herself caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She loved Alex deeply, but the memories of her past life haunted her. One afternoon, while unpacking a box, she stumbled upon an old photo of her and Mark, smiling and carefree. A pang of regret pierced her heart. "Are you happy here?" Alex asked one evening, breaking the silence that had settled between them. "I want you to feel at home." "I am happy, with you," she replied, but the truth felt complicated. "But I can't help but miss my family and friends. I thought I could leave it all behind, but it's harder than I imagined." Alex's expression softened. "We can visit them, or they can come here. I want you to feel whole, Sarah." His words warmed her heart, but the reality of her choices weighed heavily on her. She knew she had to confront her feelings, not just for her sake, but for Alex's as well. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Sarah took a deep breath. "I need to figure things out," she said, her voice steady. "I love you, but I also need to reconcile my past." Alex nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. Take your time. I'll be here, no matter what. In that moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps she could find a way to embrace her new life while honoring her past. The journey ahead would be challenging, but she was ready to face it, hand in hand with the man she loved. As the weeks turned into months, Sarah and Alex settled into their new life in Portland, Oregon. The vibrant city, with its eclectic mix of coffee shops, art galleries, and lush parks, offered a fresh start. Yet, despite the picturesque surroundings, Sarah often found herself lost in thought, grappling with the shadows of her past. One evening, while they were enjoying a quiet dinner at a local bistro, Sarah broke the silence. "Do you ever think about where we'll be in a few years?" she asked, her fork pausing midair. Alex looked up, his brow furrowing slightly. "I do. I see us building a life together, maybe even starting a family. But I want to know what you want too." His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken expectations. Sarah felt a pang in her chest. "I want that too, but," she hesitated, searching for the right words. "I can't shake off the feeling that I left so much behind." "Your family?" Alex asked gently. "Yeah," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "And my friends. I thought I could just move on, but it's not that simple." Alex reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "We can visit them. I want you to feel whole, Sarah. Your happiness matters to me." His sincerity warmed her heart, yet the weight of her nostalgia lingered. "I appreciate that, but I need to figure out how to reconcile my past with my present." Days turned into weeks, and Sarah found herself caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. One afternoon, while unpacking a box, she stumbled upon an old photo of her and Mark, her college sweetheart. They were laughing, carefree, and the sight of it sent a pang of regret through her. "Are you okay?" Alex asked, noticing her sudden change in demeanor. "Just memories," she replied, forcing a smile. "Sometimes I wonder if I made the right choice." Alex's expression softened. "You did what you felt was best for you. But if you need to talk about it, I'm here." "I know," she said, her heart swelling with gratitude. "It's just hard to let go." Months passed, and the seasons changed. Portland's vibrant fall foliage gave way to winter's chill, and Sarah found herself reflecting more on her past. One cold evening, as they sat by the fireplace, she turned to Alex. "What if we went back to my hometown for a visit?" Alex raised an eyebrow, surprised. "You really want to go back?" "I think I need to," she replied, her voice firm. "I need to see my family, to reconnect. It's been too long." "Then let's plan a trip," he said, his tone supportive. "I'll go with you." The thought of returning home both excited and terrified her. The memories of her life before Portland were bittersweet, and she wasn't sure how her family would react to her new life. As they made plans for the trip, Sarah felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Would they accept Alex? Would they understand her choices? When the day finally arrived, they drove through the familiar streets of her hometown, the memories flooding back with every turn. The small town looked the same, yet different, as if time had stood still while she had moved on. "Are you ready?" Alex asked, glancing at her as they parked in front of her childhood home. "Not really," she admitted, her heart racing. "Just be yourself," he encouraged, squeezing her hand. "I'm right here with you." Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped out of the car. The familiar scent of pine trees and freshly baked cookies wafted through the air, bringing back a rush of nostalgia. As they walked up to the door, her heart pounded in her chest. Her mother opened the door, her eyes widening in surprise. Sarah. Is that really you? Hi, Mom, Sarah said, her voice trembling slightly. Her mother enveloped her in a warm embrace, tears glistening in her eyes. I've missed you so much. As they stepped inside, Sarah introduced Alex. This is Alex, my partner. Nice to meet you, Alex said, extending his hand. Her mother smiled, but Sarah could see the questions in her eyes. The evening unfolded with laughter and stories, but the tension lingered just beneath the surface. Later that night, after her parents had gone to bed, Sarah and Alex sat on the porch, the cool night air wrapping around them. How do you think it went? She asked, biting her lip. I think they love you, and that's what matters, Alex replied, his voice steady. But I can see they have questions. Yeah, she sighed. I just hope they can accept my choices. The next day, Sarah decided to confront the elephant in the room. Over breakfast, she took a deep breath. Mom, Dad, I know you have questions about my life in Portland. Her father looked up, his expression serious. We just want to understand, Sarah. It's a big change. I know, she said, her heart racing. But I'm happy there. Alex makes me happy. Her mother reached across the table, placing her hand over Sarah's. We just want you to be safe and loved. I am loved, Sarah insisted, her voice firm. And I want you to know that I'm still your daughter, no matter where I live. After a long conversation filled with tears and laughter, her parents finally began to understand. They shared stories of their own struggles and sacrifices, bridging the gap that had formed during her absence. As the visit came to an end, Sarah felt a sense of relief wash over her. She had faced her past and found acceptance, not just from her family, but within herself. Driving back to Portland, Sarah and Alex held hands, the weight of her past finally lifting. Thank you for being there for me, she said, glancing at him. Always, he replied, smiling. In the months that followed, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. She embraced her life in Portland, cherishing the memories of her past while looking forward to the future. Together, they began to build a life filled with love, laughter, and the promise of new beginnings. The journey had been challenging, but it had brought them closer than ever. As they stood on the balcony of their apartment one evening, watching the sunset over the city, Sarah turned to Alex. I'm so grateful for you. He wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. And I'm grateful for you. Here's to our future. With a heart full of hope, Sarah leaned in, their lips meeting in a soft kiss as the sun dipped below the horizon, marking the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Subscribe to the channel,